I am living in a filthy jail. This whole process is a living hell. All I wanted was my way, but they get my dirty laundry. Well, I was a coordinator, but I wound up here. I always have to look good and I have to be clear. Whisper in my sweet boy's ear, murder for money. They kick me when they up, they kick me when they're down. Kick me when I'm up, kick me all around. I'll tell you what, I don't get to be a domestic coordinator anymore. So I've decided that I want to be a judicial coordinator. Now, what is that? What is a judicial coordinator? I figured it all out. For my unjust arrest, my terrible arrest, they put me on suicide hold, and when I had one of the first hearings, my attorney at the time told them I needed to be taken off suicide watch. I just thought it was pathetic, just so pathetic that they thought that I was going to kill myself, even though I said that I wanted to kill myself on a phone call with Charlie. But they finally acquiesced, and I thought, maybe I will get a little better treatment. I complained a little bit about the other correctional officers saying derogatory things toward me. And it's gotten a little bit better now that Don Rashbaum is on board. But from there, I realized that I could really do this. I can't run Wendy's life anymore, and Charlie, he's on his way down, to my trial. Whether he'll testify, I don't know. But it got to the point where I was like, I'm sitting in jail for far too long. And so I coordinated a little bit with Don Rashbaum. And we decided that we would give this, thing about, these Jewish holidays, to move the trial up a little bit more so that I could walk out the door. Because honestly, I can't believe that I've been in that jail cell all this time. I should have been given bond or something, but with solicitation to commit murder and conspiracy to commit murder, they just wasn't going to have it. But my coordinating abilities, my coordinating abilities got me that, that whole trial date moved up because of the Jewish holidays. I thought that was so clever of myself and Don Rashbaum, But then I got to thinking about it, and I thought, you know what? Harvey and I never did attend our son Charlie's trial, and that was such a large courtroom. And me being the coordinator that I am, I said, let's go to a smaller courtroom. The big one is kind of jinxed, and there was some little, things that were done at Charlie's trial that I didn't approve of, and so we put in a motion about getting a smaller courtroom for my trial. In our motion, I said that, there would be all these people in a bigger courtroom, and so, maybe we could cut down on the little, the tricks of all these people that really don't give a rat's ass about justice anyway, because why are they doing things they're not supposed to in a courtroom, right? So here we are. I'm thinking, my juices are really pumping through my body, through my measly brain, all through my 73-year-old body. I'm getting my way. I got off a suicide watch. I was able to get the trial moved up. Now I get a little courtroom. Now I must coordinate in order to get Don Rashbaum to get me off the hook. I've got to get off the hook. I don't want to spend the rest of my life in prison, and so I will continue to be front and center Even though I have no any legal training at all, I'm going to make sure to delve. I'm going to delve into my case with Dan Rashbob and his team. I had those jail phone calls with Charlie, and Charlie, was talking about the jury experts that we hired. Boy, that was a pretty penny. It did not seem to matter because ultimately, the bottom line is that these people up in Tallahassee, they have no class. If they were college educated and upper bracket in the income, maybe they could be my peer. So I'm hoping that Don Roshbaum will absolutely take advantage of jury selection, and that will be in a smaller courtroom. Me being a judicial coordinator, just wait. When you see me on the live stream, I'm going to show everybody how active I am. I'm going to take lots of notes. I'm going to tap Dan Rashbaum on the shoulder all the time. He's a professional, but maybe I know things he does not know. And of course, I need to take time to figure out whether I will testify. I guess that really comes down to whether or not my son Charlie takes the stand. He's the one that said on the stand that I knew all about the extortion. How could I play that to my advantage? How can I coordinate this trial to get me off the hook? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Hello, everybody. KJ here. How's everybody doing today? I just thought I would surprise y'all a little bit with little theatrics. KJ puts stuff on this channel sometimes that people scratch their head about. The bottom line is it's always for reaction. It's always to get people to think. Not that people can't do that themselves. KJ just wants to say, hey, I'm demonstrating that I want to think, and let's all think together. Good morning, Kathy, Liza Joe. Oh, Fancy Nancy. Good morning, sweetheart. Lily Jahan, JoJo, Liza Joe, Tina Reddington. All of y'all. Jackie Goodson, Beautiful Day, Moonlight View, Denise Gray, Julie Coe, Jackie. I already said that. And all of y'all, thank y'all so much. If I've missed anyone, I apologize. But today, I want to talk to y'all not just about this upcoming trial of Donna Adelson, but in totality of all the trials and all the things that we always, I am so fascinated with all these trials. Aren't y'all? Right now, we've got the sentencing phase of Wade Wilson, that crazy MF. That's going on. You got Robert Tellis. Right now, they're in jury deliberations. For all I know, they've come to a verdict. Everyone's waiting on bated breath for that one. Then you've got the preliminary hearing of Corey Richens yesterday that pretty much wrapped up, and we'll get a decision today about whether there's enough evidence to move forward with the trial, which my opinion is there's a low standard in a preliminary hearing. And so, yes, she'll move forward on that. Also, you've got Donna Adelson, right? The latest news about that, she's going to get put in courtroom B, the smaller courtroom. I posted on the community wall the order for that. And, they're going to have a pre-trial hearing on the 16th of September in that courtroom, that little bitty courtroom. Like that's going to make a damn bit of difference, right? Well, let's just give it to her. I think the judge is like, oh, we're going to concede a little bit to the defense, and there you go. And we'll just see what happens. That's the 16th. And the very next day, what happens, y'all? Jury selection. And then, of course, the shit show of Sarah Boone, who's going to be representing herself. That's going to be very interesting. So if you take that all into totality, what are you learning and what am I learning? Are we looking at the specificity of what happened and the murder and the witnesses and the evidence and all that? Are we also learning about sentencing and jury deliberations and preliminary hearings and being represented. You got that Brooks guy. A lot of y'all watched him try to deal with that. But I wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about all this today. And I hope you'll just bear with me and understand that, it's real easy for me to come on here and say, well, this is happening with this trial and this is my opinions and this and this and this. Folks, I like facts too, and I like to learn. And if you're willing to learn with me, just think of all the things for some of y'all through all this term that we've learned together, things that I didn't know that I shared and things that you knew that you shared with me. First and foremost, let's talk about this whole thing about live streaming courts, okay? Remember when we went through all that with Lori and how it was just unfair and all that, and then we found out Chad was going to be able to be live streamed and all that, and that was pretty much like a moment for me both times where I really stopped to think about what it is that we get to see and why we see it and all of the judicial system played out, okay? So overall, we know there's local, state, and federal laws, and we know that these state courts, a lot of them live stream, some of them don't allow live stream, some of them depending on the case. And if every high-profile case, it was like, oh, no cameras in there because this is wrong for, the right to a fair trial and all that, no one would see anything. But this goes back to all of the laws that are instituted in the United States and in federal courts, and many of you already know this, have generally prohibited the broadcasting of criminal proceedings since 1946, when the Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 53 was adopted. The rule states that courts cannot allow the broadcasting of judicial proceedings from the courtroom unless otherwise provided by the statutes or the rules. I'm not going to go into that further. Most of you know I could have just said, hey, federal courts don't have cameras in the courtroom. You can't even record in there. But this comes down to what? People wanted to ask the question, why? Why wouldn't, if the whole thing about having cameras in the courtroom, and we'll look at some of the pros and cons, is to have transparency and for people to be educated about their judicial system, why? Why couldn't the federal courts have that? Well, this comes down to a judge's federal code of conduct. This really came down to that. The judges decided this is how they were going to do it in federal courts. This wasn't something that, yes, in some ways the legislature did make it that way, but at the same time, the judges lobbied for it. And also in civil and, say, bankruptcy, things that are really not all that interesting to most folks, as long as there's not witnesses on the stand, in a federal court, yes, they can have cameras or recordings. But nobody's interested in that. They want to hear about these people that do federal crimes and want to see that played out. And so even then, if you're looking at bankruptcy or civil, which is boring as hell in my view, it does affect people on a national level in some ways because precedent is set. The bottom line is you can't even, if they do record it, you're not going to see a witness go on the stand and talk about bankruptcy or civil stuff. So really, what's the use? And then, of course, you've got the biggest court in all the land, the United States Supreme Court, that makes all these major decisions, and all we get's a measly recording. We don't even get to see the looks on their faces or nothing. And so that's a question I think, people have been asking for a long time is, if this is about a transparent government, why, And people fall on both sides of that argument, and I understand that it is what it is. But anyway, Isabel Marie says, Miss Therese, I switched off the world's noise after Chad's trial. My family was needing attention, love. Well, I'm glad that you did that, Isabella. I actually had to switch gears and go into Donna Adelson because I just couldn't take no more. I think that it really came to the adjudication of the last two cases and the whole process. And I did touch a little bit on appeals issues with that damn asshole Chad Daybell. But the bottom line is I needed a break from that, and I'm sure others have as well. And we all have a heart for the victims' family members. We all want what's best for them. Cresha, any of her family, any of the victims' family members ever need a single thing from me, and I can give it to them, I will. All they have to do is ask. Edie Ruth says she will not be able to contain herself. I see her getting a lot of black marks with that judge. It's open and shut. The jury will have no problem convicting her. Well, I'll tell you, Donna Adelson, really, does anyone believe that Donna Adelson, after all these years of being a domestic coordinator that she wanted to be, you hear it quite clearly on the jail phone calls with her and Charlie after his conviction. She's still continuously, she's a control freak. She's got to navigate and schedule and do all these things. If anyone thinks she's not continuing to do that and that she doesn't have a say-so in this courtroom B or moving up the trial or any of that stuff, they've got another thing coming, because Donna Adelson's got a lot of time every single day that she's been in jail to think about these things. I'm sure she's making lists of crap for her trial. Hello, Alpha FemX team. Hi, KKB. How are you? Hi, Miss DMC. So anyway, why am I even bringing this to y'all's attention? Because, again, many of y'all are going to go and watch all kinds of trials. I confess, over the weekend, okay, Jay, I dipped in and out of trials. I love to listen to opening and closing statements and rebuttals. I like to see, like I watched Robert Tellis under cross-examination. I'm a cross-examined kind of person. The most famous cross-examination that I consider an A+ was Juan Martinez with the Jodi Arias trial. He chewed her up and he spit her out. And the bottom line is that I really get into that. I think that it's very important for people to be able to understand how judicial process works. To me, it's not about, oh, I'm fascinated with the murder or anything like that. It's the adjudication process and learning that there are different rules and procedures in courts and how that all the levers that are pulled and all the doors that are shut or the doors that are open. It's very fascinating to me. And, you know, it can't just be about, you know, the crime itself. But it is important to get justice for those crimes. And it is important for me, in my spirituality, to look evil in the eye and to see how these people behave and the things they do, whether it's through interrogation, police interrogations. I really like to watch those. I like to see people sit there and bald-faced lie. You know, get on their high horse and think they've got the police fooled and everything else, and then ultimately the police chop them off at the knees and have them scurry into a hole somewhere. Edie Rose says, I'm right there with you, KJ. I love to talk about the judicial process. I've been on 2 important hurries. I guess you meant trials or something, and I'm hooked. Okay, Edie, well, there you go. I can't wait for the Donna Adelson case. How about you? But anyway, let's get back to this, because there was a time, y'all, not so long ago. KJ's talked about it in our last talk about Donna Adelson, how I'm getting older. I'm 53. I'll be 54 in April. I'm getting older, but in my younger years, you did not see these things. You know, I think one of the most famous ones that people watch was the O.J. Simpson trial or the Jodi Arias or, you know, things like that. I'm sure you have a laundry list of trials that just started to come out. You know, how about Pamela Smart and all those things. But before that, there wasn't any live stream. And it wasn't that it was illegal to do it. It just the technology wasn't there yet. And so in this day and age, folks, we don't have to go on ABC, NBC, any of the local or even national cable to really listen to what happened. We can actually go into the courtroom and learn ourselves. Develop our own feelings about what we're seeing, what's being testified to, what the exhibits and evidence are. It's really absolutely educational. And you learn a lot, not only about human behavior, but judicial process and the whole 9 yards. There's so many things that you can learn, because you can learn something from a trial, and it might be totally not even about something else that leads you to that someplace else, if that makes sense at all. So the pros and cons of live streaming and why. Have you ever asked that question? Or even interested in that question? I'm interested, and I'm wanting to share this. Is advantages of live streaming court proceedings. And I'm sure with the brilliance we have on this channel, y'all could list off some reasons why that is. But the advantages of live streaming court proceedings are bringing unprecedented transparency and access to the judicial process. A professionally developed live stream allows individuals from all walks of life to witness the intricacies of courtroom proceedings without the need to be physically present, making the justice system more accessible to the general public. This increased accessibility not only educates citizens about the inner workings of the legal system, but also helps to ensure that the rule of law is upheld, as transparency is a fundamental pillar of democracy. Furthermore, live streaming alleviates the risk of misinformation in cases that spark national or international interest by providing an accurate and unbiased account of the events that unfold in the courtroom. Ultimately, embracing the technology of live streaming court proceedings serves to strengthen trust between the justice system and the communities that it serves. Okay, so that goes beyond saying we've got to know. Because that's why I brought up about the federal system. Even though there's just so many things. I know it's on file. I know it's on record. There could be judicial watch groups, reviews, and such that will look at those things that the public don't get to see whether any of that holds up legally and all of that. The bottom line is that for everyday people, and we are everyday people, to be able to watch the process. And to know that in different states, some states have the death penalty, some states don't. Some states allow victim impact statements to say exactly what they want to say and address the freaking murderer sitting over there at the defense table. And other states say, no, you can only talk to the judge. Those are just some examples. But live streaming also, it's not, some people consider it entertainment. I consider it educational. Sometimes there are things like, for instance, on one of my shorts where John Pryor was asking that real estate agent about John Pryor's own property. And, and the guy on the stand said, it's your property, you tell me, right? Those little moments are they're organic. And, they say there's no Perry Mason moments anymore because the state has to give the defense, the discovery and all this and that. But there are some that do crop up. Example, Robert Tellis. He went on the stand. Some of y'all are not familiar with him. He killed this German, it's not German, it's Germain or whatever. He was a journalist who was writing bad articles about him in Las Vegas. He was a public administrator. He went to his house and stabbed him to death. And now they're just finding out whether he's guilty or not. He's guiltier than hell. Why they even fit the bill to even try him. I guess there was no plea agreement. And I guess they just wanted it out there for everyone to see. But the bottom line is that Robert Tellis got on the stand, and the state was able to show him a picture of his wife's Apple Watch saying, "Where are you?" And you should have seen the look on his face. You can go back and look at it. That was a Perry Mason moment. So those things still do happen. And that picture of that Apple Watch, it was in the discovery. It's just the defense didn't prepare Robert Tellis for it, basically. So as I continue to ramble about live streaming and the importance of it, because folks, it can't just be, oh, I really enjoy it or I'm entertained. or, whatever reason you got for the true crime genre and the trials that you watch, that's your own business. What I'm saying is that live streaming trials improves access to justice, and that the enhancement of access to justice is a crucial element in fostering a fair and equitable society. By reducing the barriers to legal assistance, we empower individuals to seek remedies for their grievances, ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to assert their rights and receive the protection they deserve under the law. An essential aspect of achieving this improved access to justice is to address the systematic issues that often hinder marginalized communities from obtaining adequate legal representation. By breaking down these barriers, providing legal education and resources, and embracing innovative technology solutions to streamline the process, we improve the judicial system's overall, efficiency, trust, and its ability to deliver justice impartially and fairly. So again, advantages to live streaming stuff. The bottom line is that it's supposed to be more of an like equality type of situation for minorities and all of this and that. It's supposed to be the same. It'd be different if only one race of people was getting on the freaking TV, right, all the time, right? This is supposed to be fair and equitable. Also, advantages to live streaming court proceedings is increased transparency and public awareness. The implementation of increased transparency and public awareness initiatives has the potential to revolutionize our society in numerous ways by fostering a culture of openness. These efforts empower citizens to be more involved and informed and promote accountability in organizations, institutions, and government entities. Now, let me give you an example of that on a televised trial. And I don't remember the guy's name, but he was over there near the southern border over there, right? And they wanted to try him for shooting some illegal immigrant. Well, during that trial and during all that time, there was a lot of testimony about the problems on the southern border. There was witnesses that could attest to what was going on with that in different cases. And let's give another example. What's going on with these freaky ass cults? Does everyday society people need to understand there are people like Melanie Gibb and Lori and all these other people out here, Zulema, are out here. They can believe whatever the hell they want to believe. The bottom line is what you do with it, whether you're crossing over into illegality. It is also a way to let people get educated on what can be out there. And y'all, there is no more of a general statement that live streaming courts in criminal cases says is there are very, very dangerous people out here in the world that will do all kinds of things. And I venture to say, in my case, and I can only speak for myself, when I watch these evil people and see their behavior and what they've said and what they do, that helps me to look out for that. Because it's not something in a vacuum. There are other people out here in the world that could do evil shit as well. So I, look at that to be able to see it for what it is. And then if it ever, crosses my path in terms of people behaving in certain ways or saying certain things, then I know to be cautious. In today's rapidly advancing technology era, remote participation has been crucial to conducting business and educational activities, which is another reason. It allows for participation, not just for the defendant, the defense, the prosecution, the judge, the witnesses. This has to do with the public at large. They can participate. And when you think of participation, you're like, well, I'm not in the courtroom. I'm not really participating. Yes, you are. You are viewing something that's going on a legal record. You are watching something play out, an adjudication. That word is loose to a lot of people. They know what it is, but this is very important. This shows from point to point to point to point how all the framework of the judicial process works. So people do, they get to participate in it. Not only watch it, but also comment on it. And I venture to say, after these criminal cases, or during these criminal cases, or even before they're even tried, there are people that are fighting hard for legislation, for victims and other things. It's gone on for time to time to time to time. There are lots of things, good things, that come out of these trials, especially when people are educated and are able to see it for themselves. Now we got to get to the disadvantages. And I think some of y'all understand that for every pro, there's a con. As modern technology advances and the demand for transparency in the judicial system grows, live streaming court proceedings become increasingly popular. However, inherent disadvantages come with this level of public access to sensitive legal matters. One major concern is the potential for the media and the public to make premature judgments based on snippets of information which might negatively affect the fairness of the proceeding. So that's always going to be a consideration, is the fact that these trials are being publicly live streamed. Is this having any effect? You know, it goes back to this whole thing about Lori's trial, for instance. They didn't want that live streamed because they felt like, the state even said they didn't want it because they might act differently. The judge might think, oh, the camera's on me, or the defense, whatever it was. And folks, that's common sense. If there's a bunch of cameras in the back there and they're live streaming, and you got the defense and the state and the judge and even the witnesses that have to go on the stand. There have been times that we've watched trials where, for instance, the Wagner family trial, the son and his mother there, they chose not to be on camera. You could hear what they said, you just couldn't see what they were saying. I mean, you couldn't see them talking or anything like that while they were on the stand, because they said that it would disrupt them. They didn't want to do it. So, you know, disadvantages of live streaming, absolutely. There are disadvantages when it comes to the way the court, which includes the defense, the prosecution, witnesses, judge, etc., even the court officials, the court reporters and all that, they know when a high-profile case is coming to town, right? Then, of course, you've got potential privacy violations. Live streaming a court trial has the potential to violate the privacy of all involved in the case. This includes witnesses, lawyers, and judicial personnel. And most of the time, and I would say 100% of the time, you're never going to see the jury. They're not going to show the jury members sitting over there. You got to rely on some reporter sitting in there looking at the jurors' faces to find out what they think. This juror's over there shedding a tear, or this juror's over there about sleep, or whatever. The bottom line is there are certain things like children going on the stand. And in fact, in Tennessee, if it's got anything to do with children, child sexual abuse, or anything like that, they will not allow any, not even a recording of it. So the potential for privacy violations isn't just about that the defendant, Donna Adelson, wants her privacy. Just as, Sarah Boone is sitting in her pretrial stuff saying, why is it that the media knew about this hearing before I knew about it? And I have a right to privacy and all of that. Doesn't have 100% to do with that, but one has to ask the question, how does the media go and set their cameras up, and yet this person's just been told overnight they got a hearing? I'm not taking up for Sarah Boone, I'm just asking the question, right? Also, when you go from potential privacy violations to the risk of influencing the jury or outcome of the trial, make no mistake, okay? In this motion from Dan Rashbaum, where he talks about they want a smaller courtroom to, lessen the odds of something bad happening. They listed a few things, people out there recording or taking pictures and this and that. They're going to put those in Charlie Adelson's appeal. Make no mistake, it's going to happen. Because there are people that will go into a courtroom knowing good and damn well they're not supposed to record or take pictures, and they'll do it anyway because they don't give a shit about justice. They don't give a damn about mistrials. They don't care. They just don't. But the risk of influencing the jury or outcome of the trial, in Charlie Adelson's trial there, they say there were people out there making faces. I mean, that is, and then you think about the judge telling people while they're sitting out there, you make no reactions. If you're going to do this or you're going to do that, you need to leave the courtroom, because it does matter about the audience there. Which, if you look at the pro of live streaming, you've got millions of people watching a trial that the jury doesn't have to see or hear their comments on whatever channel they're watching. So that's a pro, but it's also a con if the public is sitting in the gallery. And then finally, obviously, y'all, it always comes down to this, to the technology issues when it pertains to cost, implications. And the cost, I'm not going to go into the technical aspects of that, but it basically boils down to, money. Money. It costs money to live stream stuff. People make money, live streaming on their channels, these different court cases. I am so thankful. I sat in last night briefly on the Corey Richins preliminary hearing last night on Pretty Lies and Alibis, and said hi to Gigi, and went in there for a few minutes. I'm glad there are creators that can bring that to people, and not just Court TV or Law and Crime Network. And in fact, I would pick a personal creator if they're live streaming a trial. I would pick them over those two big wigs any day of the week. So, Kathy says, thing is, there are more people that don't pay attention to what is happening in the world of true crime than people that do. There will always be jurors, right? Kathy, good point. Kathy, Mama Bear says, there are trial watchers that go to actual court every day. We just do it from the comfort of our homes. Tony Bailey says, I think it goes even more for the defendants in some cases. You can railroad an innocent person as easily with the world watching. That's a really great point. And that's exactly why I brought up these facts. It's just for me to learn from you, to think myself and all this and that. So I am going to think a little bit about some of these trials, just touching on them since I've dipped in and out of them. Some of y'all might know these trials going on. You might, after hearing me talk about it, you might decide to go check it out yourself. This Robert Tellis out of Las Vegas. What a dumbass, okay? He wants to go in there and act like there was this great big conspiracy to out him, and that law enforcement and this realty company, they all decided to kill this journalist and frame him for it, when he himself was caught on camera. His shoes are cut up under his couch. Straw hat he was wearing during the murder, cut up under his chair there and all that. I mean, it's just crazy. And then there's all this surveillance that they found on through, forensic, cellular and all this and that of him surveilling this journalist and all that. I mean, he is absolutely, there's no two ways about it, y'all. This guy's guilty as hell. I mean, he's guilty as hell. Then you think about people like Sarah Boone, right? She goes through all these attorneys, I think, 8 of them? And she's just not happy with any of them. And I am so shocked, y'all, that Donna Adelson, she strikes me as the one that would go through several attorneys. But she had her dang eyes set on Dan Rashbaum, who was an attorney for her son before. And shoot, I mean, it'd be different if Dan Rashbaum got her son off the hook.
The bottom line is this. If Dan Rashbaum could have got Charlie Adelson off the hook, Donna Adelson would have never been arrested. Period. End of sentence. So she's got to think in her mind that, well, he already knows the case. He already knows everything. He can tweak it this time to be successful, as he wasn't successful last time. Now we'll know what to do. And if you think about her and Charlie's conversations about the ins and outs of how that trial went for Charlie, she's taking notes. You can be damn sure. Whether it's jury selection, whether it's, the people that testified and all of that. What's interesting about the jail phone calls is neither one of them ever say anything to the effect of, like Charlie saying, Mom, you knew all about the extortion, didn't you, Mom? Or she didn't say, hey, Charlie, you said on the stand that, that I knew about the extortion, and I did, Charlie. I'm telling you, they never discussed it. That is so strange. They were too busy critiquing and looking through and analyzing everything that went wrong with Charlie's trial. And I think Donna's just got it in her mind that she can get out of it. But it really comes down to this, y'all. Dan Rashbaum cannot represent Donna Adelson that she knew nothing at all after representing Charlie and him saying that Donna knew about the extortion, which the jury didn't believe ever happened. So, it is what it is. Then you think about, for goodness sake, y'all, the different trials that we've learned so many different things. This Sarah Boone, let me get back to that. She had all these attorneys, and now she's having to deal with this. She got her an investigator. The investigator, he was able to copy all of the materials, discovery, and she's even going to get hard copies. Who would have learned about how that process works? The only time that I learned about it through the last two cases of Lori and Chad was that John Pryor would say something to the effect of, well, I live over here, and what they expect me to come over here to copy it, and they've given me this voluminous stuff, right? Well, Sarah Boone has been in jail for a very good while, and she had very competent attorneys before that were doing a lot of this stuff for her, but she ended up just this irreconcilable difference crap. She thought she could continue until she could find, she wanted to cherry pick one that would go along with her narrative defense. Well, the only narrative defense that I could think of is that she just believes that, just like she did in her interview, that they were just playing, and she just has it in her delusional mind that she's done nothing wrong, or at least wants to portray it that way. If I was her, I would have took an attorney, and I would have immediately gotten an expert on domestic violence. She's got plenty of evidence that guy, he was arrested, 5 times? She could have went down that route. And maybe she still will. She's got to get experts. She's got her investigator. She's got to go over discovery. She can't get a standby attorney, which I even learned, y'all. I took pre-law, and there's still things I'm still learning, that a standby attorney, right, is not someone that helps her through this court case. It's someone that's there when she says, you know what, this is over my head, you take over. I learned that through these pretrial hearings. So she definitely, she wanted the state to pay for her to have a standby attorney, thinking that they were going to help her do the legwork. Well, folks, did we not learn how many attorneys it took to help Chad and Lori? In terms of the state, they had to bring that Rocky fella on. They had to bring Rachel Smith in, that Tanya Rollins. A lot of things. There's other cases going on besides that. And these were very big cases. Which brings me to Corey Richards. Did y'all count how many damn attorneys were at her table yesterday? She had 4 attorneys sitting at her table. 4. So, I mean, I don't know how she's being able to afford it, but, you know, maybe they're just, who knows, pro bono, whatever. The best thing in Tellus was Hamner asking why they wouldn't plant the weapon and obvious evidence and why frame him and not just unalive him. Right. I mean, it's just like that one guy that Tellus, he was a police investigator. Tellus asked him to look into this realty company. And at the very end of it all, on the rebuttal, this attorney's like, well, okay, when he slit his wrist and he's in the bathtub, they should have just let him die there, but he saved his life. I mean, there was no way that Tellus could have convinced a jury that this conspiracy, I mean, don't y'all find that interesting? There was a frame job conspiracy, and at the same time, you've got this other thing going on with Donna Adelson with this extortion that went on in the background. It's always some excuse instead of fessing up, right? It's always someone else's fault. Even this Robert Tellus on the stand, the prosecutor asked, so you think you're the victim? And he says, yes. He's no victim. He's a damn murderer. He murdered that journalist at the journalist's own home, stabbed him 11 times, and left him for dead. And my opinion, the state there was saying that he probably came back briefly because he dropped something or anything. No, I say he went back to double check that this journalist was dead. That's my opinion. He wanted to make sure this journalist was dead and couldn't ID him. That's an opinion. I mean, it could have been more than one thing. Kathy says Corey's new attorneys are court appointed. How is it that she can have so many? Kathy Mama Bear. I thought she might get one attorney in a chair there. Kathy Barella says these criminals get everything. Our hard-earned tax dollars at work. Exactly. So why not live stream these criminal trials, right? I mean, if we've got to fit the bill for it and we really want to know where our tax dollars are going and how they're being used, I mean, does anybody know? I bet Kathy Mama Bear could give me an estimate on how much Chad and Lori's trials were combined. I would say millions of dollars. Millions. Is it worth it? Yes, to get justice for those family members. But it's just pathetic, really. Kathy says it's a firm and they can use as many as they want. Most criminal defense attorneys do pro bono work. Well, thank you, Kathy, for that. I appreciate it. So, you know, back to this thing about Donna Adelson wanting to have a smaller courtroom. She thinks that this is going to be different for her. But it's not, because yes, in terms of the gallery, there's going to be less people sitting in there. But in terms of live streaming, folks, she's going to have, I would estimate, at least 500 to 1 million people watching, at least on and off her whole trial. Because how she's going to be able to wiggle out of her involvement in all this, everybody wants to see that. Everybody wants to know what the state is going to do in terms of Charlie Adelson. They may not put him on the stand unless what? Dan Rashbaum decides he wants to go this route that Donna knew nothing. But the way I look at it also is well, he could have gotten that in another way. He could have, I mean, he didn't have to have Charlie there, right? He could have gotten that in another way. Somebody can authenticate the trial testimony of Charlie Adelson's last trial, or even the grand jury transcript for Donna Adelson. Hello, Mary Seidler. And Fancy Nancy, thank you again for coming on here and helping me out. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Moonlight View says typical LDS move. They always need more attorneys. They have more attorneys than needed. Yeah, that's something that is very interesting in Utah there. I think, isn't Corey Richards, isn't she in that faith, or am I wrong about that? Somebody set me straight on that. Isn't she part of that, or no, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, definitely. Liza Joe's talking about a part of the judicial process in terms of this Becky Hill. Murdaugh might get a new trial, y'all, because of her stupidity. The court clerk and Alex Murdaugh should be tried. Well, she's lost her job. I agree. Something should happen to her. Marvin says, "Hi, KJ and Lorraine. Don't want to see her wiggling nor twerking." Don't you think your girlfriend is hot like me? Don't you think your girlfriend is a freak like me? Don't ya? Hi, Bo Peep. Oh, yeah, I know. Bo Peep's talking about Chris Watts, I think. The lady who was put in the fertilizer tanker. It was the children of Chris that fella. Was it Shanann and her two little kids? Or are you talking about someone else? Hi, Paula. How are you? Fancy Nancy's going, don't ya? Don't ya? Oh. Kathy Mama Bear, she never ceases to amaze me. She's telling us that as of March of 2023, the Daybell cases have cost Idaho taxpayers over $3.6 million. And yet Lori's trial wasn't televised? That don't make sense. I mean, we're talking about, first of all, it don't make sense that she didn't get the death penalty, but, there are people sitting on both sides of that say, well, she was ruled incompetent, had a good mitigating factor, blah, blah, blah. But she also didn't have to. And I think the state didn't have a problem with it at Chad's trial. Number one, a death penalty case should be televised, in my opinion, unless the defense just says no, no, no. And John Pryor's all for it, obviously. He wants to go out with a bang. He wants to do what he wants to do. But the bottom line is that, the state didn't have a problem with Chad Daybell's trial because they'd already been through the first one and they felt confident on what they could do, in terms of all that, in my opinion. I think when it came to trying Lori, the state was a little hesitant on the television aspect because they didn't know how it was going to happen and what was going to happen. And so they just needed their attention on the case and didn't want it in the background that everybody and their mama was watching them. But that's just an opinion. The lady who owned the trucking company and her husband put her in the tanker and welded it shut. Oh, gosh, Bo Peep. I hadn't heard about that one. That's awful. I'll have to look that one up. And he's been tried already and convicted. That's awful. That's just bad. Again, this goes to live streaming criminal trials, specifically murder trials, and what someone is going to get out of that. And it's my opinion that so much good can happen when you get to watch the process unfold. How many times have we watched trials and learned something besides what murder was or what they did? There were other areas of interest in terms of judicial process that we've learned. And it's important to be educated on those judicial system aspects. Oh, did he, Mary Seidler? The guy buried the tanker? Kathy Burrell says, I'm wondering how Mr. Pryor feels now that Chad is claiming ineffective counsel. Well, I'll tell you, Kathy Barella, did anybody expect anything otherwise? What else does he have? What else does he have? He's got to put something in his appeal. And when John Pryor wanted to leave because he wasn't getting paid, he had to state in open court, no, this isn't ineffective assistance of counsel. So Chad Daybell can shit in one hand and hope in another. He needs to get used to being on death row. He needs to get used to it. Marvin says Pryor's probably writing a book. He's had years to write one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably going to take him a while, though, Marvin. Because, you know, he spends too much with the flask. He might slur his words in his typing a little bit. He's got to get someone else to help him with it, I'm sure. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. How ethical is that? I mean, ultimately, all right, y'all, I'll admit it. If he come out with a book about his thoughts and feelings and things and interactions that he had with that damn asshole, I'd be interested. I'd be curious to know. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. So ultimately, Donna Adelson and all these other trials that we are aware of that are being live streamed, I'm going to leave you with this. Because you know KJ loves you, cares about you. I've made some strong, wonderful friendships here. Folks, when you go and listen to these trials, you're going to get whatever you want out of them. That's your business. KJ's hope is that you learn something educational, something that gives you more confidence about what we're seeing through adjudication. That if you have a question about something that you're watching on the trial and you don't know the answer, like why would this defendant have to wear jail orange at their pretrial, but they get to wear it in the hearings, or any kind of things that seem minute? It does, y'all. Every little thing that you have a question about. We've got so much technology that we can look those things up state by state. If there's a law or a judicial procedure, court procedure or something that you're not aware of, you can type it in and learn something. And it has always been my hope to get justice through understanding in whatever we're doing. Try to have a little theatrics and a little scratching of the head here and there, but most importantly, a dialogue between each other to help each other to learn things. And y'all have helped me tremendously. I hope whatever I've shared with you today, maybe you already knew this stuff, or maybe it does unlock another question of something you don't know that you might go search for. I love you all. Thank you all for being here. Marvin, Mary Sadler, Fancy Nancy, I love you. Kathy Barella, Bo Peep, Kimberly Ashcraft, Kathy Mama Bears, always. Thanks for even taking the time, y'all. Your precious time to hang out with OKJ. I hope y'all have a great day. We'll get, as soon as we get some more news, y'all. Trust me, OKJ's on it. So with that said, I hope everyone has a great day. We'll get back together soon. Leave your comments. And as always, much love and keep on looking.